what advice do you have for parents to guide the kids through? Because you can have a kid that's a great student, but they can't handle the pressure.
Unfortunately, with many of our parents, they look at, there are only a few schools that you should be able to go to after high school. So you can do the self-selecting of the truly incomparable schools, and that's what you shoot for. What I have done with mine, we have gone to look at, well, he would tell you that I said we need to go look at weird schools because that will fit how he thinks. So we've looked at unique schools, and there are small liberal arts colleges all over the United States that embrace kids who have 2.5s to 4.5s. So if you can redirect, you don't need to go to Stanford or Harvard or Berkeley or UCLA. You can look at places like William and Mary, the John Hopkins. You can, NYU for us is almost, unless you're a drama kid, is almost a safe school. So Swarthmore, it's a unique small liberal arts college. Haverford, where they will take kids, and there's a lot of financial aid out there if you explore it, who don't need to be the 4.6. I think we've got kids who have been truly driven by that pressure because parents are saying you need to go to Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley. And what then happens, they go to, I must have had 10 kids in my office yesterday. About 6 of them were at Berkeley, and I said, how's school? It's fine. Well, what are you going to do? I'm looking to graduate school because once I get out of there, I'm going to go to a place that I love. And for some kids, Berkeley is the end-all and be-all. It's where they thrive. For some kids, being in a school of 34,000 is not where they're going to thrive. I went to Davis. Back then, it was probably a school of 100. No, it was a school of fewer than 10,000 kids. There are now 34,000. So I and my son drove up, looked at the swimming program, and he went, "Are you kidding me? Mom, I won't even be able to find my bike." So I went, okay, so a big school isn't for you. So you need to think about who they can become and help them explore those alternatives. And it takes talking to people about it. I went online, I didn't look at weird schools, I will admit that, but I talked to people. One of my neighbors went to Bard, New York, and it is a very liberal arts college, and she said she thrived there. She wouldn't have done well in a highly stressful, rigorous academic place, but it got her to graduate school, so it worked. And I think that's what you need to do, is find out who your child is and who knows really better than you, and help direct them. Now's a good time. When you go on trips, we went to Washington, D.C. We looked at American, George Washington, and Georgetown. I would have never done that in the past. American wasn't even on my radar screen, but when you have a child who's unique, you look at that, and that was it during his freshman year, because we need to think differently than I had thought before.
What is the difference between like 3 years ago and today?
I think kids are, what I've said to every kid, because I think I've written over 40 letters, probably closer to 50 now, of recommendation for our seniors. Apply broadly. So get your safe schools, but our kids are applying, and I know it's expensive, to almost 20 colleges. So I think the broad applications for those small schools that are all over the United States are allowing them to say, here's a kid from California. Let's take them. Maybe they don't have the 3.5 GPA, but they're a great 3.0, and let's do that. And I think that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. I'm hoping.
You hear so much about the pressure within high school, not so much after high school, but within the high school, and that there isn't that sort of need to support the kid as a whole. And a lot of these kids are so much straight and narrow about academics that sort of the other aspects. And you know, I hear all these extracurricular activities that you help support, but how much support do the kids get to fulfill those other needs, or is there so much pressure?
And that's a great question. I have said this, and you'll hear it if you come to Saratoga. You're going to hear this again. I know that Saratoga High School is rigorous. There is no question, and I know that there is the push to achieve. I also know that when our kids leave Saratoga High School and go to college, their GPAs don't drop. So if you're a 3.0 in high school and you get to school X, you are a 3.0 there, which allows you to go further. And unfortunately or fortunately, most of our kids are looking at graduate school. Whereas at other schools, and I won't name them, they're a 3.0 at school X, and they go to college the same as our kids do, and they will tell you, your admissions officers will tell you, expect to drop a full GPA. Well, if I'm a 3.0 and I'm going to pick a place, any place, and I have a 2.0, I'm not looking at graduate school. I would rather be able to support my child in rigorous environment while I'm there than sending them off to Cal Poly or Santa Barbara and they're calling and saying, I'm getting C's, what do I do now? Because I think it's easier to do it while you've got them in hand and help them and guide them and teach them time management than when they're 18 and on their own and they're faced with the soda. I would love to say there's no drinking in college, haha, when those social pressures exist there. And I think that's the value of Saratoga High School. Our kids' GPAs don't drop. They go to college and they say, you know, it's not different. Except at MIT, kids at MIT say, I'm working hard. We have an incredible counseling staff who cares deeply. I'm there 7:30 to 7 p.m., as are a lot of our folks. So it's not like, if we just did I'm sorry I'm taking too long.
No, it's okay.
We have collaboration with staff. We spent 4 hours of collaboration where we went through and we put all the juniors, sophomores and juniors' names on the boards. That's 660 kids. Teachers were given blue dots and red dots. The blue dots were, I know this kid and I can connect with them. And the red dot was, I am concerned about this kid. We took all of those dots, and if kids didn't have a dot, meaning nobody knew them, or a red dot, 1 or more, we then had 2 meetings about these kids as individuals. And this was without parent input. It was strictly a staff of 110 people looking at 660 students. From that, we then have developed inclusive programs. Counselors are after them, teachers are going after them, trying to figure out a way to pull them in, and we're having parent meetings. Now, I think we ended up with 14 kids of concern out of 660. And if you don't talk about red dots, red flags, we are all aware of each of their names, and this happened, the last meeting was just before Christmas. I know I sat in on 2 meetings with the parents because we were concerned, and there will be 12 more about how do we get your kid engaged. So with a school that's larger, I don't know that you have that ability. With a school of 1,300, you know, kids go through graduation, 330 kids, and there are probably 10 that I have not seen in the halls to say hi to. And it's not just, gee, Karen Hyde's wonderful. It's our staff is saying the same thing. We've been able to know them because you see them. You go to events, you're able to connect. And it's almost like being in kind of a small town. And I like that feeling. Saratoga's tiny. You know, we know our kids. And
what year does that process of the dots happen? Senior year?
We did it 2 years ago. So we did it again. The seniors would have been in that pile. So we did just the sophomores and juniors. But not everybody knows 330 freshmen, so we'll do it again as we move along. But we have something called a student study team, so do you folks. And if a kid is not doing well, a teacher, a parent, somebody can say, my kid's struggling, and we're on it. And that's all administrators, all guidance people, and the school psychologist who is a saint. We're lucky.
Thank you very, very much.
She knows where to find me on the school